Godzilla -1, the living embodiment of fear and survivor's guilt. And Gojira, the representation of atomic weaponry and death. Now, due to -1's success and the Godzilla community being the Godzilla community, people have already had debates of -1 versus blank Godzilla. The main ones being Shin and Gojira. And at least in my opinion, those are both unfair. -1 beats them both. But then you have the other end. People pinning -1 against the likes of Showa Godzilla and Monsterverse Godzilla. And that's now unfair to -1. But one that I haven't seen is -1 versus Godzilla 1955. Now, while yes, the title says Gojira, we're doing 55. It's just a YouTuber thing more than anything, since no one's really going to be looking up -1 versus 55. Anyways, given that -1 has re-released in black and white, and the fact that 55 is the last Godzilla movie that was ever filmed in black and white, I thought it'd be an interesting matchup. So before we start, let me just fit the mood. Ah, there we go, much better. Now, where were we? So who will win this colossal battle? Let's hop in. Now, we're going to be going over multiple categories, these being strength, speed, durability, regeneration, agility, battle IQ, general IQ, abilities, and physical weaponry. Now, without further ado, let's hop in. Like always, we start with strength. Now, as I addressed in a video in the past, which will be up at the top right, I talked about how strong Godzilla -1 is. Granted, the speed calc is a little off, but the strength one still holds up. I'm not going to do all the complicated math, I'm just going to simplify it for you guys. Godzilla withstood and overpowered 2 Fletcher-class destroyers, both of them having a horsepower of 60,000. So together, 120,000 horsepower. And finding some deep scan online and doing some whack math, you can figure out that 2 Fletchers can pull 33,000 short tons, or in the metric system, that'd be 29,937 tons. Metric tons, that is. Now into 55. Now, his most impressive feat is casually being able to throw around 55 Anguirus, who in his debut film, weighs 30,000 metric tons. Now, normally this would mean a tie given how incredibly close it is. But there is one issue. -1's feat of overpowering the ships was done with his legs since his arms were tied up. Now, you could make the assumption that his arms should be around the same strength as his legs, but looking at how beefy his legs are and then looking at how small his arms are in comparison, there's just not much to justify or back up that claim. So strength goes to 55. And also, before we continue, I just want to clarify something. I am not a power scaler. The only thing I've ever power scaled is Spectre-Man. Rather than doing intense research and complicated calculations to find out how strong Heisei Godzilla's fart would be, I take a more chill approach, one that's more welcoming and not as overwhelming to new fans. Think of me as Goji Center, minus the god-awful Shin video. God, I still hear Monsterverse with Shin debates to this day because of that video. Anyways, let's keep going. Next, it was speed. Now, who's faster on the battlefield? And well, there really isn't much to look at. Sure, while -1 is semi-agile, he just walks. Now, 55 hasn't ran on screen, he has shown to be able to move around a lot more than -1. So speed goes to 55. Next up is durability. You can take more attacks in this fight. Firstly, with -1. When he was in his Godzilla Source stage, he was able to take the blast of a nuke. Now, the bomb that was dropped on him was 21 kilotons, the same as Fat Man. Oh, he did get eviscerated by it. But thanks to his regen, he survived. But other than that, I mean, he took tank shells and rockets from naval ships, but that's about it. Now into 55. There are multiple statements that say he's an outright stronger, faster, and overall better version of 54. Now we need to look at the Oxygen Destroyer. There are also many statements saying that the Oxygen Destroyer is the most powerful weapon on Earth, meaning it's more powerful than any nuke that was dropped at the time. Now, while sure 54 was killed by it, he did take the blast for a while without falling apart. Again, as we said, 55 is an overall better version of 54. So the winner for durability is 55. Next up, articulation. Who's more flexible? If we look at the movie monster series Godzilla -1 from Beast of the East Collectibles, we see that he's able to move his arms and legs. The best part is the price you can get all of this at. Over on Beast of the East Collectibles website, which will be the first link down below, you can pick up this guy for only $31, along with his younger self for around $35. With fast and affordable shipping, you could expect these guys on your doorstep faster than Mothra's death in every movie she's been in. Oh, and look at that, they also have a 55. So while flexibility is a tie, the thing that will be winning is your wallet. Again, check out the first link down below to grab your own kaiju merchandise. Thank you, Beast of the East Collectibles, for sponsoring this video, and let's move on. Next up is regeneration. I don't think we have to discuss this one. -1. Moving on. Next up is agility. Godzilla -1 at first glance is okay at this category, but once you take a closer look, it gets a lot more interesting. As you see near the end of the movie, Shikishima was finding a Kyushu J7W1 Shinden, a plane from the end of the war. And according to Palm Springs Air Museum, the Kyushu could get a top speed of 470 miles an hour. And as we see, Godzilla is able to keep up and react and even try biting it out of the air. But there's one thing a lot of people gloss over or just outright ignore. Power scalers. The plane can't go full speed when turning. You have to do some stupid math, including finding the angle of the turn, that being around 10 degrees, and its altitude being around 150 feet. And then given that the air pressure would be a little bit higher due to how high up they are, the speed loss would be around 3 to 7%. So we'll just say 5. So rather than the 470 miles an hour, it was moving around 446 miles an hour. Still fast, but not as fast. Now into 55. As we see, he's able to throw around Anguirus quite a bit, and is overall pretty agile, but we want to try and get a speed like -1. To do this, again, we have to look at Gojira. In Gojira, we see Gojira himself keep up and hit a few F-86Fs. The F-86F were able to hit a top speed of 670 miles an hour, and they didn't turn much, they just flew by. And as we said many times, 55 is a better version of Gojira. Though he didn't slash at them like -1, he just simply kept them in view. So while 55 dealt with faster planes, he didn't try to hit them like -1 does, so agility is a tie. Next up is Battle IQ. Now this one is pretty clear, but I'll still get into it. Godzilla -1 is strictly a film about Godzilla. There's no other kaiju that shows up in the entire movie. His only real fight was with the naval ship that came to kill him, and well, he kind of packed that up pretty fast. Now on to 55. He was able to fight Anguirus in many different terrains and styles. This one is easy, 55 wins that. Next up is General IQ. Now this one is pretty close. -1 was able to do things like go under the naval ship so he couldn't hit him, and was able to bite through the cables that were dragging him into the water. And 55 was able to use his abilities in a wombo combo kind of way, looking like he's in Kaiju Horizon. Also knew Anguirus' weak points, like going for a fatal blow that killed Anguirus, that being his neck. So for General IQ, again, it's a tie. Next up is their abilities. Starting with -1. Firstly, his Atomic Breath, which of course right after can go into an Atomic Blast, Insane Regeneration, and Contamination, where whoever is hit by the blast starts to mutate. Now on to 55. He only has his Incandescent Light, aka the Atomic Breath before it was called the Atomic Breath. So when it comes to abilities, -1 sweeps this category. Now finally on to physical weapons. Firstly, let's take a look at -1. He has very sharp claws that can be used to tear into flesh. He also has massive feet, being able to output a lot of force into a kick. And his entire body is covered in almost jagged and sharp design, making it hard to grab onto him and really get a good grasp. And finally, his dorsal plates. Besides maybe G14, -1 has some of the sharpest and longest dorsal plates ever. At least, you know, to the rest of the proportions. Pretty much making it impossible to grab onto him without cutting yourself. Now on to 55. He also has very sharp claws. He also has very sharp fangs, being able to bite into -1 like he did with Anguirus. And he also has a pretty beefy and powerful tail. So for physical weapons, -1 wins. So, with a score of 6-5, Godzilla 1955 takes the win. Now before the comments come flooding in, yes, I'm aware of Godzilla -1's crazy regeneration, but 55 can stop it or at least do enough damage where -1 can't regenerate. As we know in Gojira, Gojira was able to boil millions of tons of water. When calculated, he boiled over 1,000 meters wide of water. As we have said over and over, 55 is just a better version of Gojira, so he could do even more. The required energy output to boil that much water should definitely be enough to kill -1. So Shin and Gojira lose -1, Legendary and Showa slam him, but 55 is just right. If you made it this far, please consider subscribing, trying to make it between 30 to 50k by the end of the year. Also, thank you guys for 18,000 subscribers. If you're new, I upload weekly Godzilla videos. I also stream all the time. Oh, and before I go, I'll put it on screen. This is in the script. I keep forgetting to promote it. I have an email, so any brands that want to hit me up, or fans, because I reply to all my fans, hit me up there. Make sure to send me an email. It'll be on screen. See you all next week. As always, everybody, keep collecting. Godzilla Guy out. See ya.